Yeah, we back. Mafia Material Mobcast, episode number 65. Nigga. And next up, we got to talk about the trial shock. Judge disqualified in Julio Foolio murder case. What's next for Alesia Andrews? I remember we covered Alesia Andrews. I believe that was episode number 2. We spoke about old Alicia. In fact, we kind of got frustrated with that bitch or whatever. We said she was cooked and we're done with that shit. I was trying to make sense of this whole shit. I'm like, bitch, you over with. You over with. But apparently wasn't cut as dry as we thought. You know what I'm saying? The case surrounding Jacksonville rapper Julio Foolio just took a massive, unexpected turn, man. Just when we thought Alesia Andrews was headed to her final sentencing, a Florida appeals court stepped in and shook the entire foundation of the trial. Yeah, we're talking about allegations of bias, hostile comments, and a judge being kicked off the bench entirely. Damn. But today we're going to break down why Judge Michelle Cisco was disqualified, what this means for Alesia Andrews' conviction, and why her legal team is now pushing for a total do-over. Let's dive, nigga. So first, we want to talk about the disqualification. So on January 29, 2026, the Florida 2nd District Court of Appeals dropped a bombshell. They officially granted a petition to remove Judge Michelle Cisco from the case. You know what I mean? This isn't just a minor technicality. The appellate court found that the defense's claims of judicial bias were legally sufficient. Basically, they agreed that the judge wasn't playing fair. Her replacement, Chief Judge Christopher Sabella, was ordered to appoint a new judge immediately. And records show that Judge Kimberly Fernandez has already been tapped to take over the seat. Now, why this judge was removed? You know, what did she actually do to get the boot? Her defense attorney, Alesia Andrews' defense attorney, Jeremy McLemont, didn't hold back. You know, he argued that she lost her cold neutrality or whatever and shit. And which is basically a fancy legal way of saying she picked a side. You know, the appeals court highlighted 3 major red flags. Overt hostility, like the defense claimed that Cisco used hostile comments and tried to publicly humiliate them right in front of the jury. Yeah, she definitely chastising that nigga. I remember that shit. Prompting the prosecution, and this is the big one. They alleged that the judge was visibly prompting the state lawyers during the witness exam and even laughing at the defense. The double standard, you know what I mean? While defense witnesses were reportedly treated harshly and the prosecution's witnesses got a pass, you know, at one point when the defense asked to bring up Andrews' history of domestic violence, the judge allegedly has shut it down. Yeah, that was the big thing or whatever, with a joke about her own weight or some shit. Like, not a great look, man. You know? So the current status, like, let's recap where the case stands. So back in October 2025, Alesia Andrews was convicted of manslaughter but acquitted of the heavier first-degree murder and conspiracy charges. She was also supposed to be sentenced in December of 2025, facing up to 15 years in prison, but because of this appeal, everything was on ice. No sentencing date had been set, and Andrews remains in limbo while the new judge gets up to speed on the thousands of pages of testimony. Lord Jesus. And, here's where it gets interesting. So the defense isn't just looking for a lighter sentence from the new judge. They're going for the juggernaut move, a motion for a new trial. McLyman argued that if the judge was biased during the trial, then the entire conviction is tainted. If a new trial is granted, Alesia Andrews could walk back into a courtroom with a clean slate. If not, Judge Fernandez will proceed with sentencing based on the current manslaughter conviction. Now, the disqualification of Michelle Cisco has opened up a massive legal door for Alesia Andrews' defense team. While the original trial ended in a manslaughter conviction, her attorney, Jeremy McLyman, is now arguing that the hostile environment created by the judge prevented key evidence from ever reaching the jury. So if a new trial is granted, here's the specific evidence and testimony that the defense is fighting to introduce. One is the domestic violence and duress defense. This is the centerpiece of the defense strategy. In the first trial, Judge Cisco strictly prohibited the defense from mentioning prior domestic violence between Andrews and her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. The evidence documented past incidents and testimony regarding Chance's alleged physical and emotional abuse toward Andrews. And the goal, to establish Andrews' state of mind, the defense argued that she didn't follow Chance to Tampa to help with the murder. She followed him because she was under duress and afraid of the consequences of saying no. Now, under the previous judge, this was ruled irrelevant hearsay. But a new judge could see it as vital context for, her lack of intent. So the other one is the lack of criminal enterprise. The defense wants to pretty much double down on the fact that Alesia Andrews was not part of the Sick Black or any other gang that was involved in the Jacksonville turf war. The evidence, detailed phone forensics and social media history that allegedly shows a lack of gang affiliation, unlike her co-defendants, and all this shit. So, the goal of that is to prove that she had no motive to want Julio Foolio, Charles Jones, dead. Now, while the state argues she provided cover for the shooters, the defense wants to use her clean history to show that she was an outsider who was essentially kidnapped, by the circumstances.
A lot of kidnapping going on.
Yeah. A lot of movement, 15 feet, man. I think we damn near like 150 feet this week just in shit that we...
Ain't nobody safe. ICE agents, nobody.
This shit crazy. Even cocktail waitresses.
Everybody.
In Miami that allegedly fuck with boxers.
That 15 feet, man. I'm moving in the tents, and I'm telling them to stop.
I'm gonna move your ass 5 and just punch you 10 times. But number 3 is a rebuttal of digital digital consciousness of guilt. So during the first trial, the prosecution hammered Andrews for deleting text messages and lying to the police, action that usually suggests guilt. The evidence testimony explaining why she deleted the messages tied back to the domestic violence claim. The goal in that is the defense wants to argue that she deleted the messages out of fear of chance and not because she was covering up, a murder. Now, with the bias ruling in her favor, they believe they can now present these actions as, survival response, more than or rather than, a criminal response and shit like that. They also want to challenge the visible prompting of, witnesses. The defense planned to use the appellate court's finding of judicial bias to challenge specific witness testimonies from the first trial. Transcripts and video of Judge Sisko allegedly visibly prompting the prosecution's witnesses and interrupting defense cross-examinations, to pretty much strike, and they want to do this to strike or re-examine testimony that they believe was unfairly steered by the judge's influences, potentially weakening the state's case that, she was a willing participant in the coordination of the hit. So what's the next move? Now that Judge Kimberly Fernandez has been assigned to the case, the defense's first order of business is filing motion for a new trial. Now, this case had been a fucking circus, bro, from day one, involving gang wars, surveillance teams, and now a disqualified judge. Is justice being served, or just a major fumble by the Florida legal system? Florida be fumbling a lot of shit. This shit crazy, bro. Like, I really thought like this was just open and shut. Like, man. And for real, as far as the way they committed the crime is like open and shut. It's just that you got these overzealous judges and prosecutors, like fucking it up on their end. Now, usually in the court, they more so worried about police fucking up evidence and chain of custody. On this go around, it's like the police kind of executed everything the right way. Once y'all got it, like literally, all the law enforcement motherfuckers gave y'all an open and shut case. You ain't even had to do all this bias shit. But what's crazy is like basically Alesia Andrews is up here, right? I mean, well, she's not physically, but like, she basically, her defense is to throw the blame on the co-defendants.
Yeah.
So,
they should have knew that was gonna happen.
If she really got this clean history and no affiliations and she ain't outside like that, then I'm gonna just say this, bro. I don't be wishing jail on nobody. I ain't got no dog in this fight. But I will say this. You in the streets, like I never will put a nigga in a situation, like I'll never take a nigga that's just a hustler, a get money nigga, and try to turn him into a killer. Like, yeah, now you gotta go and kill this nigga. Because if I do and he do that shit based on the fact that he feel like I might do something to him if he say no, and then when he get caught, he starts snitching, I can't really act surprised. The nigga ain't want to do this shit in the first place. I made him do it. And so the same way that I could scare him into killing somebody, they could damn sure scare that nigga into going on the fucking stand.
Damn right.
And that's what y'all got to think about. The nigga that you can scare and pressure into doing some shit, the same way you could do it, the law could fucking do it. So just know when you pressuring that nigga and the pressure come back from that shit, that pressure gonna fall on your ass more than likely. You know what I'm saying? But let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. Should Alesia Andrews get a completely new trial, or should the manslaughter conviction, stand? Drop
Give
your
that bitch a
thoughts in
new
the
one.
huh?
So I think they should give that bitch a new one.
Oh yeah, nah, I definitely agree that she should get a new trial. I mean, look, her defense is her defense. Like her lawyers are doing their job or whatever. They have to defend their client. So whatever defense they can come up with. I mean, now she could sit here and say, no, like I'm not doing that. And then at that point, the lawyer could try to excuse themselves and say, like, like she's not really letting me work. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't fight this shit. She making me fight this shit with one arm. He did, but I mean, because she got convicted. So I mean, like, it ain't too much. Like most snitches don't go to trial and become a defendant. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, her defense is she's implicating her co-defendant, saying like, yeah, like it happened, but it wasn't like that for me. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't
Yeah.
involved to that extent.
I was unwilling participant.
You know what I mean? But yeah, man, definitely let me know in the comments. I'll be reading them shit. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Stay updated on the whole Julio Foolio case. You know what I'm saying? Cause yeah, this shit this shit crazy, dog. This shit definitely some wild shit. But at the Alesia Andrews trial, man, the trial shot, judge disqualified in Julio Julio Foolio murder case. And that's what's next for Alesia Andrews. The Mafia Material Mobcast. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this.